All right, Sean Bormet here with a summer update. I first want to ask you about Real Woods. Sweeps the series of Final X, makes the U.S. World Team. What can you say about his performance and just how you've seen him develop over the last year, 6 months?
Yeah, just so excited for real. He's just an incredible worker, and the way he trains is a direct reflection of the way he competes. And when you watch him compete, you can just, see the confidence, the energy, the intensity he competes with. And, over this last 8 to 10 months, we've gotten him in a position where he's gotten really healthy, and he's been able to train with a lot of consistency. And Coach Alex Daringer has been doing an unbelievable job just sort of pouring into all of our RTC guys and really developing them. Real's a great example of that. This was his first real run at a senior level freestyle season where he was trying to make a team. And, obviously, didn't win all these matches at the U.S. Nationals. Learned a lot, came right back 3 weeks later at the qualifier. He had some great matches there, made some nice adjustments, won that tournament to get to Final X, and then, really just was really dialed in his training leading up to Final X. He knew who his opponent was, Joey McKenna, seasoned veteran, great wrestler, and just two great matches. Wrestled really smart, wrestled all the way through that first one, had to come from behind and sort of pull it out, at the end of that first match. And then the second match just started fast, nice big 4-point start, and would have liked to see him have a little longer on top. He's really gotten a lot better at the top position, but it was sort of a quick whistle on top. But just real stingy matches. He did a great job sort of like closing out those matches with that lead in the last 20, 30 seconds to make sure he got his hand raised. But super excited for him and just this opportunity for him to compete in his first World Championships. And, he's back in the room already.
We had a bunch of other guys compete at the U20, U23 nationals qualifier. Bomet won at 79 kilos.
79 kilos.
Brock took second. Hayden Walters took third.
Yeah.
How are you seeing those guys develop, and how are you seeing them kind of use this freestyle training in the summer just to improve their overall wrestling?
The focus, as soon as the NCAAs are over, really, some of these guys are very excited about these freestyle events, the under 20 and the under 23 group. And, it's a reflection of these guys' long-term goals beyond just NCAA wrestling. These guys want to, have high goals internationally, and they put work into these, and they're very excited about these competitions. But it's been great for our whole room. We've had a ton of guys here training for those events. Those guys that went to compete, they all had somewhere between, 5 and 8 matches. Just a lot of development, a lot of progress. Bo wrestled great. He went 7-1, that best 2 out of 3 series. He dropped the middle match, so he won the first one, lost a real close one in the second one, and then made some nice adjustments and dominated and got a tech fall in that third match. But just a lot of progress from Bo and just the adjustments he was making in matches. Same with Brock and Hayden. They both competed out in Las Vegas and got a lot of matches there. So this was their second competition, and they're really just excited to compete and improve. Brock's continuing to move up in weight classes,
Yeah.
but he just loves to compete. And the thing we're seeing is when these guys get back to the room, they're, whatever happens in these events, they're just consumed right now with improving, physically, technically, tactically, and it's just part of the process, and they've been really, really dialed in this spring.
You mentioned we've had a lot of guys in the room, and wrestling's always kind of been one of those sports that guys stick around and train all summer. What's that environment like? You did it as an athlete yourself, but what's that environment like when you're, here, the weather's nice, there's no school, everyone's kind of relaxed, and coming in and getting workouts in?
All the different phases of the year they're all great in different ways, but summer, spring, summer, once school's out, is definitely it was always one of my favorite times. And I see it with this group. We have a very close knit group of guys that are really excited about training and developing, and that's been clear this summer. In the weight room we've had 18 to 22 guys at all times. Every workout they're in there together, pushing each other. The strength coaches, everyone has sort of made some comments about that group and the way they're sort of operating in the weight room. And same thing on the mat. In the afternoon, between them and our club guys, there's 24 to 40 guys on any given day in this wrestling room. a lot of times divided into two different groups, with guys getting ready to compete and other guys that are sort of not in a high competition phase, but more in a technical development and repetition phase. But everyone's in there with a great attitude, just putting in great effort and really enjoying the process of improvement and just that brotherhood and that chemistry in the summer, with no school and all their training and they're doing some stuff together like outside the room and barbecues and going to the docks. So it's been an awesome summer.
We officially have all three of our grad transfers in town. Diego got in town this week. Lacklin and Tay have been in town for probably about a month now.
Yeah.
How are they fitting in?
These guys are fitting in great. I mean, Tay's been here the longest. He's fitting in. He's working hard. I mean, and he's loving all of it. And same with Lacklin. I mean, both these guys have sort of commented on the strength training phases and things that they're doing and the energy of the team and the group and the commitment and the consistency. Those guys have fit right in. The guys love them, and it's like they've been in here for years already, and super coachable, super excited, and thankful to be in here and be part of everything that we're doing. Diego just got in and already has had his orientation for his Master's in Management program, so he is just sort of getting settled here. He's moved in. Yesterday was his first day on the mat, and I know he was smiling ear to ear, and I think he can just sort of feel the energy in the room and sort of the commitment to excellence that this team has right now.
I want to ask you about Lacklin too, because obviously he's got a lot of freestyle experience.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that really worked with Real in advance of Final X. So how are you seeing those kind of relationships, those two guys, Austin Gomez, who Lacklin wrestled at Pan Am's last summer. How are you seeing those guys kind of working with each other and trying to help each other?
The relationships are significant because those guys all recognize how much they can help each other and how committed they are. And Lacklin's been great because he's really focused on folk style. He's sort of not competing and focused on freestyle this summer because he's really dialed into this last season he has with us from an NCAA standpoint. But he's also willing to do anything he can to help Real and help Austin in terms of their world championship preparation. And he also recognizes that wrestling with those guys is really going to benefit him. And all three of those guys is very clear. I mean, they are really sharpening each other. They all want to be there to help each other and push each other and elevate each other and and help each other reach their goals. They all have high goals. Lacklin with his last NCAA season, and then after that international, and right now with Real and Austin, they're all three of them are super dialed in.
All right, camp is underway.
Yeah,
we've got the little Wolverines down already. It's kind of a crazy start to camp season, but so far so good.
Yeah, great. Little Wolverines were in the house last 2 days. Man, talk about bringing the energy. It's our littlest, youngest group, and they get so excited. They love our coaches and clinicians did a great job with them. And now we're sort of moving into those older kids. So we're on day 3 of 12 in a row, and then we take the little 4th of July break, and then we come back and we have 4 more days of camp after the 4th of July. But it's always fun, great bunch of good young kids, man, young wrestlers that are really hungry and eager to work and just be in our environment and be around our guys. And, it's always fun to inspire and teach and just sort of soak up the enthusiasm and the energy from all these young future wrestlers.
And then you've also used camp the last few years to bring in some of our incoming guys. So some of our signed guys, some of our unsigned guys. How valuable is that to get them around each other and get them in Ann Arbor? Yeah,
it's been great. All our commits have been in, from these different classes, and our signed guys that are coming this fall. They've been in here together. They've been at some camps together. We have a sort of a Fargo preparation camp coming up next week. So it's always great to have those guys in, let them start building those relationships, sort of, get connected with the team, get more familiar with our staff. And just sort of feel the energy and the environment of the room. So these guys have been doing a great job, and I know they love being here.
All right, Sean, thank you. Go Blue.
Go Blue.